Connect the world. Listen.
It all starts here. Changing, fighting, creating, connecting. That's why we're here. We live here, we work here, we're from here, and we'll go wherever the story takes us.
I'm Becky Anderson in Tehran.
We are in Jerusalem. Real news that shapes our world. Exploring not just what's going on, but why.
I just want to press you on one further point.
Getting perspective on this region from this region. Places that many of us know, but few of us get to see. Observing countries on the move. Still. Bringing you the world from our Middle Eastern hub.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson today on CNN.
I'm Christiana Manpour in Afghanistan, and this is CNN.
This is Don Lemon tonight. It is a nail-biter. The primary race for the GOP Senate nomination in Pennsylvania is still too close to call. A brave young survivor of the Buffalo supermarket massacre, an 8-year-old girl hid inside a milk cooler with her dad as the shots ring out. We're going to hear the family story just ahead. And on the front lines near Kharkiv, Ukrainians defending their land from Russian shelling and Russian looting.
They think that because America gives us everything for free, and they hate us for that, and they rob us and they kill us.
CNN is on the ground in Ukraine just ahead. But I want to go right to CNN senior political analyst Kirsten Powers and Mark McKinnon, the former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain, and executive producer of The Circus. Good evening to both you guys. Mark, the Pennsylvania GOP Senate race is a wild one. The Democratic candidate won in a landslide from the hospital, and the man who won the GOP race for governor is an election denier. What does all of this tell us about, or tell you, I should ask, about the kind of campaigns that we're going to see heading into November, or just for the future?
Well, I think Pennsylvania is significant for a lot of reasons, Don. We can read into a lot of results that happened last night in different states, but Pennsylvania is key for a bunch of reasons. The most significant outcome of the election yesterday was, of course, we have the tight Senate race, but the governor's race, which was won by Doug Mastriano, is the real news to me and the real flair for problems down the road. This is a guy who not only endorses the big lie in 2020, but was at the Capitol. And as I think about problems with the Trump-led Republican Party, we talk about the culture wars, what have you. Those are all issues we can talk about. But the most significant thing to me is the big lie and overturning our democracy and an insurrection at the Capitol that almost lost. We almost lost our democracy. We came very close. We now know. Lieutenant Oz or Dave McCormick, they're going to be dragged down by Doug Mastriano. And then every day they're going to be asked to comment on him. Either McCormick or Oz could potentially be a strong general election candidate, but I guarantee you that they're going to have to answer for Doug Mastriano. So Doug Mastriano's election is bad news for the country and it's bad news for the Republican Party.
And Kirsten, let's talk more about that race for governor. I mean, Josh Shapiro, who is Democratic nominee, ran ads calling Republican nominee Doug Mastriano one of Donald Trump's strongest supporters, which could have helped him win last night. How dangerous do you think is this kind of tactic, especially since we have seen it backfire before, and if this election denier wins, he's going to have the power to appoint the Secretary of State?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's risky. We obviously have seen it backfire on Democrats being excited about certain people like Donald Trump being the nominee, and that didn't go so well. But I do think we have to be careful not to assume that we have this one candidate out there in the Republican Party that's really scary and Trumpy, and and that's the only problem. Yes, he's extreme version of it, but it's not like the other people who are winning primaries with or without Trump's endorsement, frankly, aren't also denying the election was won by Joe Biden. Even if you look at the other candidates that are touted as being, saner versions on the Senate race in Pennsylvania, every single one of them says that Joe Biden was not elected president. So this is a 5-alarm fire that's happening all across the country, and I think that Doug Mastriano is just the crudest form of it. But it's happening everywhere. In that the winner, really, I would say, in most of these primaries is Big Lie.
I want to play these are some of the Republicans who are saying what they're saying about the GOP nominee for Pennsylvania governor pushing election lines. Here it is.
Some of the statements I think that individual has made aren't ideal.
I don't think 2020 is going to be what people want to think about.
I think in some of these, particularly battleground states, that may not be a winning message.
So, look, Mark Kirsten just said, hey, look, we don't know how this is going to turn out. It could be good. I mean, is Doug Mastriano, do you think he's going to be a liability for other Republicans on the ballot in November, or too soon to tell?
Well, I think he already is done. I think it's in this, clearly environment, it's going to be a wave election for Republicans in a state that is a key swing state for the Senate and for other elections. This outcome gives Democrats some hope in a key state. And Kirsten mentioned Josh Shapiro is a very good candidate, but I think against another Republican nominee, given the environment, he would have had an uphill climb. Now I think he goes in as the odds-on favorite. And by the way, his message is exactly the opposite of Mastriano's. I mean, he's running on the fact that the big lie is a big lie. That the big fraud in American politics is the notion that there was fraud in the 2020 election. So it'll be a stark contrast. And by the way, I also think it's going to help Fetterman because, as I said, what's going to happen for McCormick or Oz, whoever wins that recount, they're going to have to answer for Doug Mastriano. And, if not for Mastriano, they'd be able to tack the right and be kind of a to-me Republicans are used to. I think that's their natural instinct.
I don't understand how would they do that when they've already taken the position that they already have basically said that this is what they believe. They're just not saying it as crudely as he believes. I don't know how you suddenly. I just want to clarify. Also, I wasn't saying.
Let her clarify, Mark.
Who are endorsing the big lie are the Republicans. I know the Democrats aren't endorsing it. What I'm saying is that this is something that is very much a part of many of these races, regardless if they're like Doug Mastriano. And I agree, Democrats are looking at this and saying that this is it's giving them hope, where Pennsylvania, for a lot of people, they had written it off. I'm just saying, let's just not pretend that this is some isolated incident where this isn't something that's infected the entire Republican Party.
And Mark, and another thing, Mark, and another thing. I mean, Mastriano, I mean, he won by large numbers. So, I don't know. Has endorsed the big lie. I don't think that he did. I think he ran away from Trump. I don't think that he embraced Trumpism, the 2020 big lie.
I love that he had been asked if Joe Biden was the elected president of the United States, and
that's part of why he endorsed Oz. He said that the McCormick wouldn't endorse the big lie.
Yeah. Thank you both. I appreciate it. The Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman easily winning his state's Democratic Senate primary even after after a stroke on Friday and surgery to implant a defibrillator while voting was underway. But before questions on the candidate's health entered the conversation, some raised questions about his look and his progressive policies. At 6'8", fan of shorts and hoodies, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is anything but your typical Senate candidate. But with his big win, will Democrats try and replicate his candidacy across the country? Let's discuss now for someone who should know his
I am Nigerian by blood, British by birth, and American by residence. It is important to me that those same strands of inclusivity that flow through me are mirrored in the stories that we tell. One World is a place where Africa has an equal seat at the global table, alongside Europe, the Americas, and Asia. Every continent has a voice, and where everyone watching has a stake in the global conversation.
One World with Zain Asher, tonight on CNN.
Nothing is ever given to you in life. If you want to be a great businessman, you got to put in the work. And the same applies to survivors of trafficking. My name is Given Kachapa, and I'm now a dentist in Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Zambia. We grew up very poor. I was trafficked into the United States by an organization known as TTT Partners in Education. The mission of the organization was to go to African countries and bring kids to America to sing in churches. We were singing in malls. We were singing in schools. So the ministry had different ways of making revenue, and yet those of us that were singing were not receiving a penny from that. My dental practice is based here in North Dallas. We've been here now 5 years. It's been an exciting, wonderful journey. My goal as a dentist in the future is opening up clinics in Zambia. We have 2 of them that we've built from the ground up. And being a business person today, I just cannot foresee a situation in which I would work somebody without compensating them for the work that they're doing. It's important to me that we all try to get along and make life a little bit easier for each other.
I'm Jeff Roby. I'm the Global Head of Environmental Sustainability at Capgemini. People often ask, why should businesses care about sustainability? Well, first of all, quite frankly, an unsustainable pathway is not going to be good for any business. Businesses are reliant on having consumers that will buy from them. They're reliant on having employees who want to work for them. Increasingly, all the stakeholders of the business are asking difficult questions. So businesses which aren't taking sustainability seriously essentially are going to be out of business. But in reality, it's never too late to start. A great way to start is by trying to understand your own impacts as an organisation. Perhaps calculate your carbon footprint. Ultimately, we need everybody on this journey. So why not start today?
More and Mrs. Right is very, very close. They want us to start moving.
There's a sense where Russians haven't yet brought their full disruptive power to bear.
Vladimir and his men have been alert since 4 a.m, fearing Russian attack.
They were living here in frigid temperatures.
Sounds to me like many of these war crimes will go unpunished.
In Helsinki,
Kyiv,
Kramatorsk.
This is CNN.
Trends, tech, news, Marketplace Asia.
How the pandemic continues to affect consumer habit and corporate spending across Asia, in China and beyond.
Marketplace Asia, Saturday on CNN.
As shots rang out at the top supermarket in Buffalo on Saturday, a store employee quickly led 3 co-workers and a handful of customers to safety in a break room.
And then that's when I thought to myself, he might come busting through the door. So there's an old table back there that I pulled to the door with one arm and barricaded the door.
He says dozens of people were shopping as the shooting began, among them an 8-year-old girl and her parents, but they were separated. Mom was on one side of the market, the little girl and her dad were on the other side, and took cover inside a milk cooler. Fortunately, they all survived, but it took 20 long minutes until the carnage ended and they were reunited. So joining me now to tell their story, London Thomas and her dad, Lamont, and her mom, Julie Harwell. I'm so happy that you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining us. Lamont, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, we're just taking it day by day. We can do good.
Yeah. What about you, London?
Great.
So you all were shopping, Lamont, you in London. You went to grab some cake mix when the shooting started. So tell us what you did.
Yeah, like we were. I took my daughter down to find some cake.
So I had to just think like fast because I couldn't even process or think twice about what my next move would be. So yeah.
You actually saw the shooter, understand, come around the aisle and start shooting, and at one point you were actually just a few feet away from him? What did you see?
Yeah, and that's when I guess it got real to me because I didn't know what was going on still until I saw him. So yeah, it was surreal.
Yeah. So Lamont, you said that you and London were hiding Nicole. You said you were trying to shield her and cover her mouth. Were you saying anything to her, like keep quiet, or was it just so fast?
Well, she was like just asking me about her mom, and I'm just like, I know her mom is. Hopefully, I'm trying to like keep her calm at the same time. Like she wasn't. Like she was crying, but she was crying because she thought that her mom was out there. Why all these shots are being fired? I'm good to see the kind of
Milk cooler. You didn't know this for quite some time. You ended up outside the store, I understand, for 20 minutes, not knowing if they were all right. What was going through your head?
I'm frantic because I'm not even knowing that the killer is like 2 feet away from me getting arrested. I still was oblivious because I did not know if they were safe or not. So I was just going crazy, basically. Yeah. I couldn't even think. No one would tell me anything. It was just longer, and the time was longer than I thought it was.
Yeah. You know, Lamont, I'm glad you guys are okay, and I'm sure, obviously, you are happy that your entire family is intact, but so many people lost their lives, and so many families are affected. What do you say to the folks who are involved here because, look, we can't even imagine what
Every inch of respite from Russian shelling here comes at grotesque cost. What once rained down on the second city of Kharkiv now lands here.
Yeah, keep the distance, okay?
Ukraine declared here Ruskolozova liberated over 2 weeks ago, but it's never simple.
These tiny villages, which before the war were places you wouldn't notice driving through, have now become the key battlegrounds to defend vital cities like Kharkiv.
While the fight to protect Kharkiv still rages with every step fast and cautious because of mines, Russia's border is now just 9 miles away.
Did you ever think you'd be as close to Russia in nearly 3 months?
Честно, нет. Тихо не бывает. Для себя, для настроения все хорошо.
But Russian troops are even closer.
It's in the forest, across the field over this wall. They say frequently at night Russian reconnaissance groups try and move in on the village.
The next tiny hamlet is being fought over, and this is where Kharkiv's defence cannot fail.
Come.
The US's most effective gifts in some of Ukraine's youngest hands. This is a homegrown defence. Volunteers, software engineers, economists, funded mostly by our guide, a farming millionaire. Russia's brief occupation never planned to leave anything of value here. Their daubed Zeds on a van full of TVs for looting.
They see that we live better, and they do not even think that something is wrong with them, not with us, you know? They think that because America gives us everything for free, and they hate us for that, and they rob us and they kill us.
Here, they hold back an enemy that's slowly proving as inept as it is immoral by placing incredible value on the smallest patches of their land.
Now, Don, Ukraine forces said that they had success today in pushing further north from where we filmed that report, a matter of miles possibly, closer yet still towards Russia's border. But this changes back and forth all the time, and in the way in which they see success one day in one area, in another area too, close to the border, further towards Russia's supply lines, Ukraine had to admit they saw some setbacks at the same time. So constant fluidity here, but no doubt in that report you saw there that if we're looking at longevity, it's Ukraine's morale that certainly is higher. Don?
Nick Payton-Walsh, thank you so much. Out of control wildfires are already a major problem all across the U.S. And get this, the country isn't even in its warmest months yet. CNN is in New Mexico tracking a wildfire. Next.
In our world, every day is a beautiful one. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Transformation, technology, new Marketplace Europe.
Brand designs and brand price tags to match. We're exploring the luxurious world of watches.
Marketplace Europe, Sunday on CNN.
Today we live in an unpredictable environment and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
Our engine continues, our impetus, our momentum.
My show brings you the latest news and top news makers. Give me the facts on voter fraud.
There has never been a moment where voter fraud has affected the outcome of an election.
And we also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
Normally this theatre would be filled with people and art and debate and energy. And so now we have to rely on the two of us.
How interesting is it to be Tyler Mitchell today? It's crucial we make sense of what's happening. There seems to be some confusion that maybe you can clear up. Where are the US forces in Syria going? And fully understand what's at stake.
What's happening now in the world is a great thing because people are talking about subjects they never did before.
Amanpour, tonight on CNN.
When you follow a story, you may be asked to take risks. And sometimes go down a path that's not marked.
Where Iraqi troops would pre-position and these Americans would advise them.
These protests are a test for Hamas.
Any understanding between Israel and Gaza could quickly fall apart again.
The protesters are just outside a military base. They're throwing rocks and security forces firing tear gas.
When you dare to take risks, you witness passion and persistence.
And they just want to get their past processed so they can get out of this facility.
And that's where change happens.
The one thing they have in common is a determination to keep going.
Have you been bitten by the bug of curiosity? This is CNN 10. My name is Carl Azus. I'll be your explainer-in-chief.
Global news.
International relations are the key factors.
Relevant stories.
Everyday people whose action is changing their community.
Complex issues explained.
We're going back to the future.
And 10-second trivia.
You get a perfect 10 out of 10.
All in 10 minutes. Stream at CNN.com/CNN10. Coronavirus. Get daily news updates in your inbox. Sign up for the CNN newsletter. Coronavirus. Fact versus fiction.
Raging wildfires are a major problem this year across the U.S. More than 1.3 million acres have been burned so far, and the hottest months have yet to come. The situation is extra bad in New Mexico, which is also experiencing a terrible drought. Farmers in some parts of the state being ordered to stop watering their crops. There's just not enough water to go around. More tonight from CNN's Renee Marsh.
These are mobile homes. Mobile homes and mansions on fire in Southern California. Flames also turning homes to ash in New Mexico. 11 large wildfires are currently burning across the U.S. So far, more than 1.3 million acres have burned. That's more than double the same period last year.
We have never had a fire this big.
New Mexico has been in the bullseye of a mega drought. The state's largest reservoirs are at critically low levels. The Calf Canyon Hermit Peak wildfire is the largest in the U.S. and bigger than New York City. Wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour have been fueling it. New Mexico recently issued an unprecedented order mandating farmers in some areas stop irrigating their crops, quote, in the interest of public safety to make water resources available for wildfire activity.
Right now, all these sprinklers be running.
Michael Quintana is a third-generation farmer near Las Vegas, New Mexico.
It's completely open. There is no water. As you can see, right now we have it completely open and there is no water coming out.
All of his irrigation lines are dry. The wildfire is miles away from his 600-acre farm, and yet it will wipe out all of his crops because of the state order mandating he temporarily give up his water rights.
Have you thought about what that means to your bottom line?
It's non-existent. At that point, we have no revenue from this farm.
The water stopped flowing to this farm just 4 days ago, and this canal used to be full, but now it's just down to a puddle, and you still see the water line from where the water used to be. This was a canal before the state stopped water flow to his property. You have no idea how long you'll have to forego using your water or give up your water rights. It could be months.
It could be years.
New Mexico's early, more intense fire season is sparking fear that extended firefighting activity could